it's Amy Scott Grant. They call me the spiritual ass kicker. And I want to talk to you briefly today about Mercury Retrograde. So what is it? What does it mean? How does it impact you? And what can you do to avoid any unpleasantness during these periods? Because it happens like once a quarter. So you might as well deal with it. And you can't just go hiding under the covers for 3 weeks, 3 or 4 times a year, right? Well, you could, I guess, but that wouldn't be any fun. So, all right, so here's the deal. So when a planet is said to be retrograde, when a planet is said to be retrograde, what that means is it appears because of the position of the Earth, the position of the sun, and the fact that planets don't travel in a circle around the sun. They travel in an ellipse, right? Because of that, which is like this, right? As opposed to a circle. So because of that, there are certain times, depending on the position of the Earth, position of the sun, and the position of a particular planet, that it appears as though the planet is traveling in reverse for a period of time until we all change positions, and then it looks normal again. So that illusion of turning backwards is called retrograde, right? Now the planet Mercury is what governs 3 main things, right? It's communication, transportation, and commerce, money, okay? So money transactions. So what that means is when Mercury is retrograde, you may see those 3 areas of life affected. There's lots of things you can do, but I will tell you what you want to do is really stay on top of these areas, right? So when Mercury is retrograde, you want to, or when you know it's coming retrograde, which you can do a quick Google search and find out at any time when it is. And once it's retrograde, it stays that way for about 3 weeks. But when you know it's coming, you can do things to prepare for it, right? Have you been putting off repairs or some type of maintenance on your car? It's a good time to get it handled before retrograde, right? Because if something's going to go wrong with your car, it's probably going to happen during a retrograde cycle. So this is also a time when we see a lot of fender benders and breakdowns and stuff. And so you want to just drive with a little bit more caution. It doesn't mean you have to be like white knuckled. Oh my God, Mercury's retrograde. It just means you pay attention. Be a more passive driver instead of an aggressive driver when you know Mercury's retrograde. Okay. Transportation. I don't avoid traveling during retrograde, but I typically will not fly on the day it turns retrograde and the day it turns direct, if I can at all help it, because I know that those are the 2 days that are the most prone to delayed flights, lost luggage, traffic jams, inappropriate directions, all sorts of stuff like that. So again, it doesn't run my life by any means, but I do tend to be a little more aware and cautious during these times. So that's your transportation piece, okay? Communication means interesting things will happen with communication during retrograde. You may feel like you're crystal clear in what you're saying, and the other person hears something totally different than what you just said. So in terms of how to manage your communication in retrograde, you want to make sure you just are being as clear as possible. This is not a time for firing off smart-ass replies to emails, because I can almost guarantee those will be misinterpreted or taken the wrong way. Things that you say in jest might be taken seriously by someone, all kinds of stuff like that. So it's a good time to take your time when responding in communication, as opposed to firing off the first thing in your head. We get very busy and we text things, we email things, and then people get upset, and then it takes that much longer to calm down that upset person and explain that wasn't what I meant. I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. It takes less time for you to just pause and think for a minute before replying with that communication, right? It's also a time when things seem to take a little longer. This is a period, generally speaking, when projects that may have been clipping along may slow down just a little. Response time from people tends to slow down a little. Something you're waiting on, you may have to prompt a little bit more when retrograde is in session, right? Or when Mercury retrograde is happening. And then what's the other thing? Oh, money. Yes. Okay. And then especially anytime like two or more of these are combined. So for example, if you're buying a new car, that would be all three, right? Or even if you're buying a used car, because you'd have communication in forms of the contract, the paperwork, any kind of payment agreement, the title. You would have transportation as the car, and you'd have commerce in what you're paying for the car. Doesn't mean don't do it. I mean, sometimes we can't avoid it. We have to buy cars and do things, but it means be very, very careful. Dot your I's, cross your T's, take your time, look everything through and through, double and triple check, be a little more meticulous to detail than you might be normally. Okay. In terms of money, be mindful with your money, be aware. Be, again, double and triple check if you're entering into any kind of financial contracts or transfers or anything like that during this time period. So there you go. Nothing to be scared of, nothing to freak out about, but that is what you need to know in terms of how to manage when Mercury is retrograde. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.